Tejasvi Tvam.
I am really very happy to be given the chance to introduce such a fine and eminent person as Desikachar. I have known him, of course, for a very long time, and have also benefited very much from his teaching, and my health actually improved as a result of that. Of course, we all know that he was a disciple of his own father, Yogacharya, Sri T. Krishnamacharya, than whom there is no greater yoga teacher or a person of learning than him. So it's a very special pleasure for me to introduce him to you. He has not only helped people, but he has taught teachers of yoga also, not only in this country, but in foreign countries as well. And he has been connected with many centers and organizations composed of about 5,000 people, and even many recognized organizations in Switzerland and other countries. He has been, I'm sure we all know, an instructor in the universities in America, many universities in America, during 1976, 80, 82, etc. He is, of course, very much in demand. But now I am happy to say that some of his pupils are also equally deserving of praise by the way they are teaching. One of whom is already teaching in Kalakshetra. And he is now the founder of a Yoga Mandiram, and managing trustee of which is Krishnamacharya. And I think he has been recognized by the Madras government, and when more and more governments are beginning to realize how important these yoga asanas are for the health of the people. And because of that, recognition has come to him, and he is now branched off into something not only physical but spiritual and therapeutic. He is able to help a number of people with their health problems, and that's a very important thing. And it's a research center, and he is doing not only research but actually helping people individually. I do not know what more to say about him except that he is an ideal teacher. He was already an engineer, trained to be an engineer, but he has become a very outstanding teacher, and he is deeply interested in religion and philosophy as well, because they are all connected. Yoga is a spiritual thing. It is not purely physical stance. Asanas are one part of the spiritual training, and he has learned all the religious and philosophical aspect, as well as the Sanskrit learning from his great father. And so I am very happy to introduce such a fine contribution of India in the personality of a very outstanding and charming person. I needn't say that he has published also many, many books, and I am hoping to read them and to benefit from them also. Well, it's very nice of you to give them. Thank you.
Pranapanam vyanodana samanami shuddhyantam jyotiraham viraja vipapma bhuyasagasvaha vangmanaschakshushrotra jihva ghrana परेतो बुद्ध्यातूति संकल्पा मे शुद्ध्यन्तां ज्योतिरहं विरजा विपाप्मा भूयास स्वाहा शिरः पाणिपादपार्श्वपृष्ठोदरजङ्घशिष्णोपस्थपायवो मे शुद्ध्यन्तां ज्योतिरहं विरजा विपाप्मा भूयास स्वाहा त्वक्चर्ममागुंसरुधिरमेदो अस्थिमज्जा मे शुद्ध्यन्तां ज्योतिरहं विरजा विपाप्मा भूयास स्वाहा शब्दस्पर्शरूपरसगन्धा मे शुद्ध्यन्तां ज्योतिरहं विरजा विपाप्मा भूयास स्वाहा पृथिव्यप्तेजो वायुवाकाशा मे शुद्ध्यन्तां ज्योतिरहं विरजा विपाप्मा भूयास स्वाहा अन्नमय प्राणमय मनोमय विज्ञानमयानन्दमया मे शुद्ध्यन्तां ज्योतिरहं विरजा विपाप्मा भूयास स्वाहा ॐ स्वाहा.
Normally, yoga is associated with a certain kind of culture, which, as far as I'm aware, has very little to do with sport. I would like to ask how yoga is different to other forms of normal exercise one generally imagines.
Such as?
Such as any for exercise connected with any games or athletics or any sport.
Yeah, I assume you are referring to the related part of yoga, that is the exercise part of yoga, when you compare to the other form of exercise.
Yes, I do, yes.
Okay. This is usually the question people ask. I'm so glad, Mr. Gopinath, you asked this question. There are certain characteristics that distinguishes yogic exercise from other form of exercise. First of all, it is not competitive, in the sense that there is no question of you doing better than other. Otherwise you will be not selected or you will not be getting the gold medal. So there is no competition from that point of view. Secondly, I think our exercise, the yogic exercise, is such that we are required to know what we are doing. It is not somebody else is required to know what we are doing. More, we are required to know what we are doing. Whether I am, for example, breathing when I am doing a particular exercise. Am I ready to do some other exercise? Am I listening to some music when I am doing my exercise? That is, in brief, this exercise called the yogic exercises have these following characteristics. It is my exercise. It is not important that I should do better than somebody else. 2, it is an exercise in which I am involved. Another person need not be involved. 3, I must follow what I am doing throughout. So this is the basic difference between any other form of exercise and the yogic exercise such as asana, pranayama, or meditation.
That is certainly very interesting. As I understand it, the element of competition is not there. It is a matter of satisfying yourself that you're doing what you're supposed to do under yoga. Mr. Desikachar, what I would, particularly I'm thinking of sports, today's sports world requires a very, very high degree of physical fitness. We find this in all sporting activities, and I'm saying this particularly in reference to India and Indian sportsmen or athletes. We generally find that our standard of physical fitness does not appear to compare favorably with the rest of the world. What I would like to know is how can yoga help to achieve those standards of physical fitness that are required in high-level competition of sport?
Yes. One of the most significant feature of people who have been great sportsmen or women who have come to me is this: even though they are fit in certain fields, they do not have an overall fitness. That is, the overall fitness means the ability to do different types of exercise or activity equally. Because cricket, for example, you take a batsman, he is required to do a particular type of stroke. A wicket keeper is always in a half squat position, as you are aware. A tennis player is either using the right hand or the left hand. Now, what we expect in yogic exercise is every part of the body must work as a team. Now, we find somebody, a distinguished sportsman, having a knee problem. It is clear this person has a knee problem because he has been doing so much skipping, but he has not been taking care of his back. So, the back is not able to accommodate the requirement of the particular activity. If I were to work with him, I will identify this problem of the back, strengthen his back. I will not ask him not to do other exercise. I will make up for the deficiency of his sports activity, make up for the deficiency of the training program that is suggested for that activity, so he will definitely be able to do better. This is the difference between our people who are required to do the same type of exercise for whatever be the sports, cricket, football, etc. Everybody is doing twists, everybody is running. But what I will do, I will choose the type of exercise according to the individual's requirement as a sportsman and as a person with certain deficiency. This is how I am sure our exercise will make a lot for the deficiency of our sports people. Unfortunately, this is not done in our training programs. So, with regard to the last question about meeting a challenge, in fact, one of the definition of the word yoga is to arrive where I have not arrived. Apraptasya praptihi yoga. So we will support that, of course. But there is a question of attitude also. If I want to achieve something and I am so nervous about it, something may misfire. So we have always been told in yoga, while you try to arrive at something, you must have a particular attitude towards that. That is, I will do my best. I must get it. But if something doesn't work, it's fine. Next time I'll try. So that is why we have in yoga one attitude, that is, having done my best, leave the rest to God. This attitude is always suggested in yoga, whether it is asana or prayer. Another important thing is, in yoga there is another element, that is to know oneself a little bit. In fact, the yogic exercise program, whether it is asana or breathing or anything, is meant for another aspect, that is to know something about myself each day. How is my mood today? I can see the way I will respond if I am not able to do a particular posture, or I cannot chant, or the teacher does not come on time. So gradually there is a disciplining of the mind also in this yoga exercise program, in exercise or pranayama, etc. This is not to have a goal, to get the goal, as yoga itself is defined as to get a goal that I haven't got, but to also have a particular attitude, not to overreact if I fail, not to proceed without knowing where I am. Perhaps if this can also be cultivated at the level of competitiveness, perhaps our people will have a psychologically a quieter frame, at the same time physically a severe attempt. That's why yoga is defined as one which has three elements: to do, to examine, to take in a particular spirit, success and failure.
One of the things I'd like to ask Mr. Desikachar, as a foreigner who's been doing yoga for a comparatively short length of time, do you believe that foreigners can become as adept at yoga as an Indian? And what prompts this question is there are some things which we find it actually quite difficult to do. I'm an example, as my teacher will know, that I find it rather difficult to sit cross-legged. So given this basic difficulty, do you believe that we can become as skilled, given practice, as an Indian?
You know, I am embarrassed to answer this question because I can say that there are certain postures, since you're talking about the postures, that some of my friends abroad can do better than some of my friends here.
That's reassuring.
Am I not speaking for some people, Elizabeth? Take our friend Elizabeth, she's French, she's a teacher of yoga. Some of the postures she can do are extraordinary. Now, you are very kind in assuming that our system now, the way we live our lifestyle, is different from Westerners. As you know, it is not like that. We are sitting on a chair, like you sit in a chair in England. So we are also becoming like you. So you are as competent as we are these days in every aspect of yoga, not just physical exercise.
The other question, which I'm quite interested in, do you suppose, I've heard it said that yoga regular practice of yoga can help a woman conceive. Do you think this is possible? And if so, how is it possible?
Now, if the problem the person has or the persons have is because of certain psychological barriers, people have found either the contact with the teacher to learn yoga, to study yoga, to practice exercise, etc., has reduced this barrier. So if the barrier, psychological barrier or some inhibition was responsible, and yoga has been very helpful. But I cannot promise, whatever may be your problem, my dear lady or my dear gentleman, you do yoga, you will have a child. I cannot do that. Because
Another question, though, talking about yoga, do you believe that if approached with the wrong attitude, or maybe if one is not doing the postures correctly, do you believe that yoga in certain circumstances itself could be detrimental to health?
it has been. It has been not because of attitude, because of ignorance. I buy a book, 2 rupees book on yoga. I have headstand there. So first day I learn one asana, second day I learn another asana, third day I stand on my head. I'm a heart patient, overweight, I have a stiff neck. You can imagine what it happens, you know. Like the situation, as you can see here, somebody who is so fat, with a big tummy here, 160 pounds, Indians it is fine. And third day of his yoga, the page number 3 says, headstand, the king of the postures, do it. And you know what happens? People have got stroke, they got paralysis, they lost speech, whatnot. Surely, it is not attitude, it is ignorance.
But would you then follow that by saying that especially at first, you really should do yoga with a teacher? Would you say that these sort of self-help manuals are generally a bad idea?
It's a very good information manual. Information manual just to know what it is not. But please don't plunge into yoga through the books, please. Gift it to a noble cause. Don't take risk, please.
One final question. Again, perhaps this is because I'm a foreigner, I haven't done any exercise before which has involved breathing. So I come to breathing in a very haphazard manner. And I've often wondered, is there any way one can help oneself during breathing by concentrating on a particular thing or just trying to let one's mind be free?
Yes. Breathing, it has been found these days, breathing is not easy for people to learn. So what we have done these days is, instead of teaching the person breathing, we have started to teach chanting. A person does an exercise, instead of breathing, we let the person recite something, a monosyllable, or with some notes. Now what this does, this will oblige a person to breathe. And slowly the breath can be made longer by making the passage longer. So we have to use different techniques to train the breathing, not only for the concentration point of view, also to train the system for breathing. So premature teaching of breathing can be harmful also. So we have to find means to teach.
Yes.
Atha yoganuशासनम्
Atha yoganuशासनम्
योगः चित्तवृत्तिनिरोधः
योगः चित्तवृत्तिनिरोधः
तदा द्रष्टुः स्वरूपे अवस्थानम्
तदा द्रष्टुः स्वरूपे अवस्थानम्.
Surely, for a foreigner, because the language is different, that actually can impose an extra burden. Chanting.
I did not say that you have to do our chanting. I only said chanting. It's, we will take some poems or some sonnet and teach you. It's very easy. But in the exercise.
Yes.
No, I did not say Vedic chanting. I simply said chanting.
Yes.
With some... No, that's what we do. We use syllables like ma, ma, ma. What barrier you have for this?
I think I can manage that.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to ask you, first of all, what kind of problems do you encounter? As I understand, the Yoga Mandiram, besides teaching exercises to people who are well, also undertakes the therapy of people who have certain illnesses. What is the most common illnesses that you encounter, or what kind of problems do you encounter in your day-to-day activity involving the treatment of patients?
Most of the conditions people come here with are those conditions where physicians have failed. Either the physician herself or himself refers them, you have tried everything, maybe yoga can help you go there, or on their own because somebody has mentioned, look here, you have tried everything, why don't you try this also? So this is the situation. And the conditions, actual symptomatic conditions are innumerable. It could be corn in the toe to patches of skin. All types of problems. In fact, we are quite ignorant about these problems. All we know is they have come to us, they have tried everything. In the past, we have been lucky. Maybe this time also we are lucky. And we are always amazed how we who are not doctors can do something where the doctors have failed. This is a question I have never understood. But the conditions are innumerable. Unable to conceive, headache. I mean, if the list is too long, doctor.
Well, I grant that the list of illnesses can be too long, sir. There must be some particular kinds of problems which you see more commonly than others. Would you care to enumerate what some of them, at least in your experience, have been?
Now, prominent conditions, perhaps you're asking about the prominent conditions. Right. Psychological conditions like depression, unable to sleep, compatibility with society, job, etc. at the psychological level. Certain respiratory problems like asthma, sinus, this type of related associated problems. Often certain cardiovascular problems like blood pressure, post-heart conditions, etc. Very often conditions such as headaches. And these days, a lot of people, women, come with a lot of problems like menstrual problem, this and that. Once in a while, some diabetics, etc. This is about the majority of the problem. But we also get other conditions. In the sense, nobody comes with one problem. The more you ask, the more you get symptoms. So it's a combination of many conditions. But probably these conditions may be prominent there. In short, here people come where the disease has gone to their head.
So if I may be allowed to summarize, the kind of problems that you commonly see are the kind of problems which are more or less now considered to be diseases of civilization. Migrainous headaches, ulcer disease, low backache, blood pressure, a little bit of mild diabetes. Am I right in that assumption?
Yes, in fact, in a way you have answered a question which might be asked, which type of people come here? People with new civilizations come here. We hardly have people from the rural, very few. People who, we want to work with poor people who work in the house and all that. No, you are right. The type of people seem to reflect the type of disease.
Now, elaborating on a theme which Mr. Gopinath already touched on, and a theme which I think is very important because it represents one of the failings of Western or rationally oriented medicine. My question is this: do you have standardized treatments? For instance, as a practitioner, if I see somebody with problem X, my book tells me that the treatment is Y and Z. Now, what is your approach to these things?
As a matter of convenience, I wish it was standardized. But in fact, it is not. When we meet a new person, a sick person, the most difficult decision for me is not what to teach, who has to teach. Who among the teachers here will fit in with this person? So first I have to take that decision depending on the background of the teacher and the student. What I teach or what instruction I give is very insignificant. It evolves as they meet, they relate, and their relationship grows. So I'm very sorry to say it is not possible for me to say we have specific solutions for specific conditions. I wish it was, because it would be easier. But the more we see people, the more we have to adapt. We also, of course, we have certain principles of common sense. That is to see that the problems do not get worse. So we don't teach somebody headstand on the first day. But basically, whether the condition is asthma or diabetes, the same condition sometimes work. In the same type of problem, different courses are to be given. What is important is the relationship between the teacher and the student. The other things seem to be so minor. I'm sorry, it is like that here.
Summary, why is it that you succeed where Western medicine fails? If you were asked to give a brief idea about why is it that you succeed, what would be your feeling on this matter?
You have asked a very embarrassing question, but I answer the question. I think there should be a human touch in working with people with problems. Just like we have to have a human touch when dealing with children. Anybody who is suffering, whatever may be the type of suffering, there must be a human touch. You are dealing with a personality, a human being, not sheets of paper. I want to look at the patient. I don't want to look at the radiographies, X-rays, chemical results, etc. The fact that I look at them, I see them, I take the pulse. After all, what do I know about pulse? But I take the pulse. These things make such a difference for the person. I think it is this human touch that perhaps may be receding to the background in this great specialization of modern time. I hope it will come back.
Sir, I would like to ask you, is there any age limit to start an exercise? Like, take for an example, a housewife wants to learn yoga. Is there any particular age factor that one can learn now or one cannot learn now? Is there any such?
There is no age limit, of course, but different age requires different type of approaching the body. Like a small boy, like Ganesh, who is 5 years old, he can do a lot of gymnastic type of exercise close to yoga. But if it is somebody like Mr. T.S. Subramaniam, who is 74-year-old, we will perhaps be more careful. So it is the limit is not the age. The limit is the type of yogic practice they have to do.
Again, as a housewife, one comes to think of oneself. A lady gets the time only after a child, she has finished her family, she has had a couple of children and they grow up. Only later on she realizes that now is the time that she would like to do something for herself. Now, is there any time factor involved also? Like many people would like to know, should they do yoga only in the morning or they can do it in the evening, or that is also again flexible?
Yes, it was suggested in the ancient time that one must practice these type of activities which will help the person early in the morning. The idea behind was morning is very quiet, there is no disturbance, the temperature is good, the climate is good, etc. Now, the spirit of that idea remains. One has to practice when the person is very quiet, he is not in between two jobs or something. So I tell people, please spend this time as a special time where nobody will disturb you. Don't bother whether it is 4 o'clock in the morning or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Anytime. Now, of course, no, we are not going to tell a person to do yoga at 10 o'clock if they have taken a meal at 9 o'clock. It is probably not going to happen like that. So I say do at any time except after meal, any time of the day or night.
And should the practice of yoga be regular, in the sense they should practice every day and around the same time preferably, or can there be some adaptation, like one day she might be free in the morning, the next day she might be busy in the afternoon? I mean, should that also be?
Any time the person feels at ease to do this is better than forcing oneself to do at the same time because you are obliged to do at the same time, or not doing because you cannot do at the same time. That is, a little dharma is better than no dharma. And if dharma interferes with, it creates more problem, it is better to give up that dharma. So I tell, you don't be rigid about the same time. Particularly for a housewife with children, you are asking. Do when you have the real psychological time to spend 15 minutes or 20 minutes alone. Don't bother about the wristwatch. That's what I say. And people somehow organize and they find, in fact, practically it is better to have a regular time. So it will dawn on them to keep the same time. But I will not insist on that.
Now, regarding the children, at what age can they start learning yoga, sir? Children?
When they can comprehend things, suppose they're able to walk about, they're able to eat, they're able to understand how to repeat, to speak, we can start. So I would say about 4 or 5 years, quite safe.
Right. I've heard from some people saying that if a child starting to do asana from young age, the child does not grow tall. It tends to remain short. Is there any basis? Because I've heard it from 3-4 people, and I myself, being a mother, naturally I'm also anxious.
Surely.
And so I would just like a clarification on this.
We do have children who have been doing from a very young age, and they seem to be outgrowing their parents. So it is maybe they would have grown taller without yoga, or they are growing all right. Exercise cannot do any of those things. You see, but yoga means where you insist on fasting, disciplines like not to speak, too much meditation, etc., perhaps may inhibit the growth. That is why our ancient people said, for a child, the aim must be growth. Srushtikrama. Srushtikrama means teach in such a way everything expands. Body expands, mind expands, senses expand. So ancient people have suggested, teach children this Srushtikrama, expansion type of exercise. We do that. And we will not teach them, please, you must relax for 5 minutes every half an hour. We will not do that. So, depending on the type of exercise, the results will be different. We make sure that the exercises are very strenuous, very demanding, very challenging, as is appropriate for children. Nothing can happen. This idea exists also in the West, unfortunately. Children should not be taught yoga, women should not be taught yoga when they're young, it may affect their puberty and all that. We have seen that is not happening. Misconceptions are there.
Another common doubt that arises in a woman's mind is about whether they can practice yoga when during the periods. Is there any reason for that? And also, how about yoga practice and pregnancy? I would like a few words on that.
Regarding practice of yoga during menstrual time period, naturally we have to adapt. Women have stomach pain and all that. We will have to respect that this pain may be increased by certain postures, like you can see arching like Dhanurasana or Shalabhasana, or lifting the legs 20 times from the floor. But there may be some exercise that may even relax the stomach because there are some muscular tensions. So we will have to sometimes adapt. These days people go to the office, they do job all throughout the year. It is nothing to do with their menstrual problem and all that. So it simply means that we don't have to be so careful, but we have to respect the symptoms. There are some people with excruciating pain. Certain exercise should be avoided. Sure. Regarding pregnancy, we too teach a lot of pregnant women. Again, pregnancy exercises are different from exercise that will be taught for a normal person. We cannot ask a pregnant woman who is 6 months pregnant to stand on the head or do extreme forward bendings or twists, etc. They are very risky. But we must teach them some exercise because after the pregnancy they should not become fat. They also must carry extra weight, so the back must be strengthened. Exercises are absolutely required these days for pregnant women because women do not have as much work these days as they have had in the past.
Sir, from the discussion all this time, I learned that yoga can be practiced only as individuals can practice. Can we practice it as a group?
Yes, it will be more interesting for children to practice it as a group. The children like to be in group. Whatever may be the intention of yoga, that is not to have competition and all that, we have to accept children like to do better than somebody else. So we often feel for children a group situation is much better. Or in certain situations like we have a group of cricket players who have to do different activities. They all can be doing together certain types of exercise based on yoga, and then we can suggest certain specific exercise for those who have specific problems. But when a person has quite a few problems or very elderly person, etc., it is not a good idea. Now, I want to also say something. Yoga should not always be confused with some exercise program. Yoga always opens us to certain learning process. You would like to know more about mind. You would like to know what is God, etc. So that means there may be a yoga class where asana is not taught. Maybe certain texts are studied together. The chanting of the text, for example, like you can hear now how yoga chanting is taught.
Agne Tejasvin
Agne Tejasvin Agne Tejasvin
Tejasvin Tejasvi
Tejasvin Tejasvi Tejasvin Tejasvi
Tejasvi Tvam
Tejasvi Tvam Tejasvi Tvam
Tvam Deveshu
Tvam Deveshu Tvam Deveshu
Deveshu Bhuyaha
Deveshu Bhuyaha Deveshu Bhuyaha
Bhuyas Tejasvantam
Bhuyas Tejasvantam Bhuyas Tejasvantam.
How it is in our ancient system? Do we talk about psychology at all? Because we have not read anything about Indian psychology at all.
It is, in fact, yoga is not a study of body. It's only one part of the story. I mean, the author of yoga, Patanjali, is supposed to be the person who understood mind and who proposed certain solutions to the mental problem. When we pray Patanjali, we always say, we salute Patanjali because you, Patanjali, gave us the solution for our mental problem. This text of Patanjali, the Yoga Sutra, is all complete study of mind. It is very ancient. Asana is only one small part of this big study. If people are not aware of it, it is like many things in India people are not aware of. I'm so sorry for that.
But another important thing, it was really on my tip of my tongue all the time because I work with the mentally retarded. And you have been saying, even to Mr. Gopinath, that the exercise should come from them. The interest or motivation should come from them, within them. But the mentally retarded will not be able to do that. And is there any scope in yoga for this unfortunate social
We have,
problem?
I mean, theoretically, I say yes, because any person who is able to respond for the normal needs of life has a great possibility to do something more. A slow child also wants to have food. It has to go and take care of the calls of nature, sleep, etc. So starting from there, we can always improvise something more. Now, I can now say positively that this can be done because this has been done. We have now worked with children with this type of problem, and there has always been a significant improvement in these children. We put them in different types of activity. Of course, we handle them privately sometimes. We put them in group. We teach them chanting. We have started to teach them dance, so that they get confidence. Look here, maybe I can also do something. Because a slow child seems to have an inhibition, which makes it worse. So when the inhibition comes out, it will do a little better, and then it becomes he or she, a human being, like others. So put them in this type of program and see, it will work.
तेजस्वन्तं मां
तेजस्वन्तं
मामायुष्मन्तं आयुष्मन्तं वर्चस्वन्तं
Smoke, heat, fumes make you uncomfortable and drain you of energy, and can sometimes be an embarrassment to you. There is a modern answer to this misery, the Ketan Fresh Air Fan. It drives out smoke, heat and fumes and brings in fresh air. Your kitchen needs Ketan Fresh Air Fan.
लिंडा,
हाँ?
वैसे हमने पहले भी ये बात की है। मैल्कम की गैर मौजूदगी में यहाँ मेरा रहना ठीक नहीं लगता।
ओह रफीक, तुम बहुत पुराने विचारों के हो।
ऐसी बात नहीं है, मैं अपने लिए नहीं तुम्हारे लिए सोच रहा हूँ। लोगों को उल्टी सीधी बातें करते देर नहीं लगती।
मुझे किसी की परवाह नहीं, और फिर अपनी बिल्डिंग के लोग बहुत अच्छे हैं।
बस एक आंट मैग्नोलिया का सहारा था, वो भी लैंड करते ही टेक ऑफ कर गई।
तो फिर क्या इरादा है?
इरादा तो नेक, शादी करने का। क्यों? अच्छा लिंडा, मैं शादी करके बीवी को यहाँ ले आऊं, तुम्हें कोई एतराज तो नहीं होगा?
मुझे तो वैसे ही एतराज नहीं था, लेकिन रफीक, आर यू एंगेज्ड?
नहीं, अभी नहीं, पर तुम्हें मेरी थोड़ी मदद करनी होगी, फिर जल्द ही मुंह मीठा कराऊंगा, इंशाल्लाह।
रॉबिन, रॉबिन,
गुड मॉर्निंग
गुड मॉर्निंग, गुड मॉर्निंग। देखो इस स्टोरी बुक में कितनी अच्छी स्टोरी है बच्चों के लिए। पढ़ के तो सुनाओ, देखूं कहीं अंग्रेजी भूल तो नहीं गए हो।
ओ दादाजी, अब मैं नीचे क्रिकेट खेलने जा रहा हूँ। सब बच्चे मेरा नीचे इंतजार कर रहे होंगे। अब 2 ही दिन बाकी रह गए हैं, फिर मेरे दोस्त मुझे कहाँ मिलेंगे?
अरे अरे, बोर्डिंग में दादाजी भी तो नहीं मिलेंगे। अच्छा जाओ खेलो, जाओ जाओ खेलो, जाओ 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 खेलो। मैं सिर्फ मजाक कर रहा था बेटे। रॉबिन, सेंचुरी बना कर आना।
हाँ दादाजी।
चलो रॉबिन, आज छुट्टी ली है तो रॉकेट को अच्छी तरह शैम्पू से नहलाते हैं। बहुत गंदा लग रहा है। ये रॉबिन कहाँ गया?
अभी अभी नीचे क्रिकेट खेलने गया है।
देखा ना कैसा बदमाश है, मुझे ऑफिस से छुट्टी दिलवाकर खुद गायब।
धवल, भूलो मत कि पूरी छुट्टी बेचारे को बच्चों के साथ खेलने नहीं दिया। तुमने
पापा कुछ पढ़ के सुनाओ।
नहीं, अभी नहीं, मैं जरा क्रॉसवर्ड पजल देखना चाहता हूँ।
ओके, तो फिर मैं होके आता हूँ।
तुम कहाँ जा रहे हो?
मैं भी खेलने जा रहा हूँ।
हाँ, खेलने? हाँ? खेलने?
ரஃபி தன் நண்பன் தவலிடம் தான் ஒரு அழகான பெண்ணை திருமணம் செய்து கொள்ள விரும்புவதாகவும் அவள் மனதை இன்னும் தன்னால் புரிந்து கொள்ள முடியவில்லை என்றும் கூறுகிறான். தவல் இன்றைக்கே அவளிடம் கேட்டுடு என்று கூறுகிறான். தொடர்ந்து கிட்டத்தட்ட எனக்கும் இதே குழப்பம்தான், என் மனதையும் ஒரு அழகி கொள்ளை கொண்டு விட்டாள் என்று கூறும்போது ரஃபி, தவல் நேரில் அந்த பெண்ணை சந்திச்சு பேசு, முடிவை உடனடியாக தெரிஞ்சுக்க என்று வழியும் கூறுகிறான்.
तुम आसानी से हाथ से जाने देते क्यों?
कह तो ठीक रहे हो धवल। दरअसल मैं एक और बाजी के बारे में सोच रहा हूँ।
कौन सी बाजी जीतने निकले हो?
अरे निकले कहाँ, तो सिर्फ सोच रहा हूँ, सबसे अहम बाजी।
तो फिर हिम्मत बांधो। क्या कहते हैं वो, हिम्मत मर्दा
मददे खुदा। लेकिन मेरा मामला सर नाजुक है।
अगर मुझे बताने लायक हो तो।
हाँ, क्यों नहीं। जब से मैल्कम गया है आई हैवंट हैड अ मैन टू मैन टॉक। दोस्त, मैं एक हसीना को चाहने लगा हूँ, उससे शादी करना चाहता हूँ।
तो फिर प्रॉब्लम्स क्या?
मैं उसका दिल नहीं जान पाया। वैसे ज्यादा पहचान भी नहीं है, लेकिन लगता है उसकी तरफ से झुकाव है। फिर सोचता हूँ उसके हंसमुख होने और मिलनसार होने की वजह से ही कहीं मैं गलत तो नहीं समझ रहा हूँ।
देखो, ये सस्पेंस खत्म करो, आज ही पूछ डालो।
हमारे धर्म अलग हैं, प्रांत, रिवाज, भाषा सब कुछ अलग है।
तो तुम इन चीजों की पाबंदी कब से मानने लगे?
मैं अपने बारे में नहीं, उसके बारे में सोच रहा हूँ। लगता तो नहीं है कि वो भेदभाव मानती होगी, लेकिन शायद उसके परिवार के लोग कुछ समझ में नहीं आता।
लेट मी रिपीट, ये सस्पेंस खत्म करो, आज ही पूछ डाल।
आज ही जाकर पूछो। यहाँ कहना आसान है, क्योंकि तुम्हें क्या, तुम तो पहुंचे हुए खिलाड़ी हो, पर हम तो नौसिखिए हैं। अपना शागिर्द बना लो गुरुदेव।
कहाँ के गुरुदेव? अजीब इत्तेफाक की बात है कि मैं भी इसी तरह की दुविधा में हूँ।
हाँ?
बिल्कुल तुम्हारी तरह ये पूछूं या न पूछूं के चक्रव्यूह में फंस गया हूं। अर्चना के जाने के बाद शादी के बारे में मेरे मन में एक कड़वाहट सी पैदा हो गई। मैंने कभी नहीं सोचा कि दोबारा इस राह को मुड़ के देखूं, लेकिन आज जिंदगी के इस मोड़ पर कोई ऐसी मिली कि दोबारा मन डोलने लगा।
लो, इसमें सोचना क्या है मियां? मुझे तो धड़ल्ले से उपदेश झाड़ दिया था, है? और खुद तुम प्रपोज क्यों नहीं करते? हिचकिचाने की क्या बात है?
नहीं, हिचकिचाने की वजह यह है कि मैं डिवोर्सी हूं और फिर एक बच्चे का बाप। वो तो अभी कुंवारी है। शी इज अ वंडरफुल गर्ल। रफीक, अर्चना के बाद मेरी जिंदगी में कई लड़कियां आई।
जानता हूं,